All right, let's talk about something that can totally transform how a business works. It's called Organizational Project Management, or OPM for short. We're going to see how it helps companies stop running around putting out fires all day and start, actually building something for the future. So let's dive right in.
So, does this sound familiar to you? That feeling of being in a constant state of crisis? Your teams are just jumping from one urgent problem to the next, never really getting ahead. It's a super common trap, and when you're caught in it, you're not steering the ship at all. You're just frantically patching leaks. And honestly, that kind of chaos is exactly what a good strategy is supposed to stop.
Okay, so this whole reactive cycle, it actually has a name. We call it the tactical trap. And it's a place where a lot of really well-meaning companies end up, sometimes without even knowing how it happened. Here's how it usually plays out. A big problem blows up. Maybe a project goes way over budget, or you miss a huge deadline. What's the first instinct? Fix it, right now. But that reaction leads to these little tactical fixes. You're so focused on stopping the next fire that you never stop to ask, hey, why do these fires keep starting in the first place?
And what do these quick fixes usually look like? Oh, we've all seen them. Things like throwing a few more people at a struggling project, or sending a team to a weekend project management training, or maybe buying some shiny new software that promises to solve everything. Look, these things might help a little bit in the short term, but at their core, they're just reactions.
And right here, this is the heart of the problem. Those fixes, they might put a Band-Aid on one specific project, but they do absolutely nothing for the organization's big picture strategy. It's like fixing one leaky pipe while the whole foundation is cracking. They're just isolated solutions in what needs to be a connected system.
So, the big question is, how do you get out of this mess? Well, it's not about working harder, it's about thinking differently. It takes a total mindset shift, a move to being proactive and strategic, instead of just reacting.
And this is where Organizational Project Management, OPM, makes its grand entrance. The best way to think about it is like a master blueprint. It's the framework that connects all the dots. It links your individual projects, your programs, your entire portfolio, all of it, directly back to the company's main strategy. The goal isn't just to get projects done anymore. It's about achieving way better performance and gaining a real, sustainable competitive advantage.
I mean, look at this comparison. It really says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you have the tactical approach, which is all about crisis mode and just fixing the one project that's on fire. But on the other side, with OPM, everything is driven by strategy, and the focus is on creating real, long-term value for the whole organization. It really is the difference between running around patching cracks all day versus taking the time to build a solid foundation.
Okay, this leads us to the whole point of OPM. At the end of the day, it's all about one thing: connecting the work people are doing to the value the company is creating.
So first, let's just make sure we're on the same page about what business value even means. It's basically the total benefit you get from doing something. And the key thing to remember is that value isn't just about dollars and cents. Sure, it can be tangible stuff like profit, but it's also the intangible things, right? Like your brand's reputation, how much of the market you own, or how loyal your customers are. That's all value. And here's what's so cool about OPM. It's not some rigid, one-size-fits-all system. It actually molds itself to whatever your company's strategy is. So let's say your main goal is to be super efficient. Well, then your OPM is going to be laser-focused on controlling project budgets and squeezing out value. But what if your strategy is all about product innovation? Then, bam, OPM shifts its focus to speed, time to market, and fostering creativity. See? It's the bridge that connects that high-level strategy to what your teams are actually doing every day.
Right, so this all sounds amazing in theory, I get it. But the real question is, how on earth do you convince your company to make a change this big? Well, it all starts with making a killer business case.
And this really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Moving to something like OPM is a huge deal. It's a major undertaking. So to get the leadership on board, you can't just walk in and say, hey, I have a good idea. No way. You have to prove it. You need a rock-solid argument that's backed up by facts and data. So, how do you build that case? It's basically a four-step playbook. First, you've got to take a hard look at where you are right now and find the real pain points. Second, you gather up all the facts and data to show why things need to change. Third, you figure out how you're going to measure success, your key performance indicators, or KPIs. And last, but honestly, this is the most important one. You've got to find an executive sponsor, someone who will champion this whole thing from the top.
So what kind of facts and data are we talking about here? Well, it's a mix of a few things.
You absolutely want to highlight any internal success stories you have to show, look what we can do when we get it right. But you also need to talk about the lessons from past failures. That's where you show the real cost of doing nothing. Then bring in some external data, from places like PMI, to show how you stack up against others. And finally, you need to get a clear baseline of where your project management maturity is today so you can actually prove you're making things better.
I love this quote because it's so true. This isn't about pointing fingers or making people feel bad about past failures, not at all. It's about taking those painful lessons every time you repeated an error, paid a penalty, or wasted money, and turning them into a powerful argument for why things need to change. That's how you show that investing in OPM isn't a cost, it's a clear return on investment.
All right, so let's say you did it. You made the case, you got the green light. You're not done, not even close. Getting approval is just the first step, because implementing OPM isn't just a project. The real magic and the real challenge is making it stick for the long haul.
Okay, if you only take one single thing away from our chat today, let it be this. The number one most critical factor for success is active executive sponsorship. I'm telling you, without it, you could have the most brilliant OPM plan in the world and it will probably fail. It's that important.
And notice that word active. That's the key. It's not enough for a senior leader to just sign a piece of paper and say, go for it. Nope. They have to genuinely get it. They need to understand how OPM actually helps execute the company's strategy. And they have to be out there, constantly and visibly, communicating their support to everyone. They have to be the #1 champion for this change. So, to make sure all these great benefits don't just fade away, you need what's called a sustainment plan. Basically, you have to figure out who's going to own these new processes for the long run. Usually it's a team like a PMO, a project management office. And here's the crucial part. You need to have this handover plan ready to go before you even finish the initial rollout. That way it's a smooth transition, not a chaotic scramble.
So let me just say it one more time to be perfectly clear. OPM is not a project. It doesn't have a start date and an end date. It is a deep, fundamental, and permanent shift in the company's culture. It's all about weaving strategic execution into the very DNA of how your organization works.
And that, brings us right back to where we started this whole conversation. OPM is the tool, the framework that lets a company finally get out of that chaotic day-to-day firefighting mode. So I guess the only question left to ask is the one on the screen. Is it time for you to stop fighting fires and start actually building your future?